everybody, and welcome once again to Back to School, where learning and liberty meet. This is Kathy Wells, and today is the, 14th of August? Let me look. Yeah, I just said August. I meant April. It's the 14th of April, 2013. Sunday the 13th. So be careful. Anyway, tonight I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, well, a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to talk to you about something that it's so easy in modern educational discussions to just completely miss the point. Because, look, my hair's doing funny things. Because this is my understanding, okay? And I want to be I'd like to be more assertive when I say this, but I want to be very clear that when I'm talking, it's kind of a duh moment, right? But I'm talking about my understanding of things. And as far as I know, they're accurate. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you anything that I don't think is true. So, my understanding of advanced degrees in education are that generally they're within one of two tracks. One is that they are related to behavioral science, and the other is that they're related to like systems management or management, okay? Which is great when you're dealing with superintendents in public school and principals, etc., right? Because, well, at least systems management is good because you're managing a school district, and it's important that you know how to do that, right? The behavioral science thing, I think, just needs to be chunked completely. So, sorry, all you behavioral scientists. I don't think it's good because of where it leads us and the way that human beings get treated in that arena. So anyway, but the problem to me is that although those things might have to do with, okay, behavioral science has to do with testing, right? And I think that's why it's so popular, is because it has to do with testing, and we're so big into testing, and we just love testing, and it's all about testing. 1, 2, 3. But they really don't have much to do with academics. And that's really important, you know, because that is what we are supposed to be doing. We are supposed to be, if you're a traditionalist, academically teaching children what they need to know. So if you know how to get kids to get good grades on tests, fabulous. If you know how to manage systems, fabulous. Neither one of those things are about academics. But do we still need to know how to take tests? Sure. Do we still need to know how to manage systems like an independent school district? Yes, we do. So the good news is you're not out of a job ever, because we need to know how to do those things. But we can't lose sight of academics. And that's where I feel myself and other private school educators and homeschool educators are experts in areas where the public school is not. And you know what? The public school may be doing a great job in systems management and test-taking skills. Great. That's not the point of school. I flossed. It's not the point of school, y'all. So we can't have either or. We have to do both and. We have to manage people and systems and personnel and all that crazy stuff that we have to manage when we have public schools, which I'm against anyway. But we have it, so let's do it well, right? So we go and get degrees in that, and we have to take tests, and that's good. Okay, but where in the picture is academics? Whoever goes and gets an advanced degree in educational history and then goes and becomes a superintendent? It's like not an option. It's not even an option because it's not a focus of modern education, and it's wrong. It's wrong, wrong, wrong. Wrong. It's wrong. We have to change this. We have to stop this. We have to say we can have our systems management, our behavioral stuff or whatever, although I don't really like that. And we're going to have high academic standards, and we're going to go back and look at how kids learn cognitively. See, remember I told you that difference between behavioral psychology and cognitive psychology? So we can say, for instance, like I would say, it's very, very important for young children in their concrete stage of thinking to memorize things so that they can use them later in life and they won't forget them, like their ABCs, or, in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. I mean, those are things we memorized when we were little, and those are about the only two things. Well, when I was a kid, we memorized math facts. That doesn't happen anymore. So I'm not sure what kids are memorizing now. They're learning a lot about the environment and socialism, though. So anyway, so it's really important when we're little that we memorize things so that we can use them later. Okay, so that's the academic side of things. So great, manage systems, go you. Manage your personnel, help your teachers, manage your principals, whatever. Yay! Teachers, you love your kids anyway. Keep loving them. That's awesome. But what you're teaching them is crap. It is. And I know that's not your choice, and I know it may frustrate you, and it certainly frustrates parents, and I know it frustrates children. So you don't have to change who you are. You don't have to change loving kids. You don't have to change loving teaching. You don't have to change any of that. We just have to change content, academic content. And, there's going to be some methodological changes in there too. But I promise you it's not boring, and kids don't hate it, and they really thrive under it, and they do learn lots of stuff, and they learn more stuff than they would have learned if they'd done it the modern education way. I see it happen every day. It's going to be okay. We can do this. And we need to do it because the system we've got in place now isn't effective. It's based on crazy methodology. If you don't know anything about outcomes-based education, Iserby's book talks about that a lot. Although I don't think from a definition standpoint, like a definitive, I don't think she comes at it quite well enough, and it's difficult to find online. And outcomes-based education is seated deeply in behavioral science. So basically, let me just say this. Essentially what we went from was from an academic focus and a virtuous focus of education. So those two were together, like academics and virtue, and everything was centered around God, right, and academics. And we took out God, which is virtue. Well, we actually replaced godly virtue with secular humanistic virtue. And John Dewey, by the way, was a secular humanist, which is something that nobody knows. He was also a communist, to my best of my knowledge, and nobody knows that either. So we took truth, beauty, virtue out of schools, and we replaced academic standards with behavioral science standards. And you need to study John Dewey. You need to study who he was, what made him tick, why he thought what he thought, his ideas. He was living in a time when there were a lot of immigrant families coming into this country, and they weren't with their families were working in the factory all day. So they basically were alone and just running amok, or they were working in factories. And so public schools seemed like a really good idea to replace the family. What? To replace the family. No, we can't replace family. And honestly, with curriculums like C-Scope, and I've talked about this before, school is trying to replace the family. Because mommy and daddy don't know anything anymore. And kids are coming home saying, no, I can't do it that way. They don't listen to mommy and daddy. Maybe mommy and daddy have particular values. Those things are being challenged at school. Now, please hear me correctly. I am not against teachers challenging children in their beliefs. I'm not against that. My children will go through that process in their high school years of having their beliefs challenged. It's really important, though, what I just said. In their high school years, okay? So the age thing is a big deal because in the C-scope curriculum, we're challenging beliefs in like the 4th, 5th, 6th grade, too young. And their beliefs will be challenged from a positive and friendly perspective. So from people who believe as they do, but are trying to get the children to answer, why do you believe what you believe? Not trying to get them to see why someone, well, no, that's true too. They will also examine why other people believe what they believe, but the goal is not to drag them from what they believe and to believe, it's to defend what they believe and to think logically. Okay, there's a difference there. We're not inculcating kids into the idea that they should, just because they can get in another person's mind and think of the other side of an argument, that doesn't mean that they should connect or relate or feel synergistic in some way with the other person, if that makes sense. And that's kind of a major difference, and I don't even really know how to articulate that better than that. However, so there's that. And there's another either or paradigm that I see being set up. And I saw someone post this. We have a little local blog in our town that is really a mess. Everybody posts on it anonymously, which I think is just hilarious, you know, because they say crazy, rude, outrageous stuff, and they're just anonymous. Well, neat, you're a coward. I mean, I'm sorry, like, you can't even give your opinion and put a face with your name in your mouth. You know, and then I've had, you know, several people criticize me, and I'm thinking, who are you? You're anonymous. You're no one. How do you do that? You know, you have to have courage. You have to have courage in this life to say, this is who I am. This is what I think. This is what I feel. If you want to hate me, hate me. If you don't. But anyway, so we have this little blog, and somebody said at one point early on in this discussion, something to the effect of, you people kind of are a throwback and you need to realize the world is changing and education needs to change. And I'm like, okay, I don't know exactly what that means because no details were given. And of course the person didn't leave their name or blog address or email address so I could ask. So it's like a half-butt conversation because how do I finish that? But yeah, the world is changing. It really is. We've got postmodern thinking and gosh, it's changed so much, and I am really into how the world is changing. I love to study how the world is changing. I want my kids to know how the world is changing because it's really important. But what I don't understand is, yeah, the world's changing, and so what? We don't need to learn to read and do math? I mean, technology is technology. Technology is going to be around. There's no getting around technology. And I had a teacher friend, tell me that my daughter was in 4th grade, my oldest daughter, and that she needed to start learning PowerPoint. And this is like typical public school thinking, okay? And I just sort of ignored it and went on, whatever. Why? Because you know when I learned PowerPoint? When I was in college. Actually, it was after that. It was when I started dealing with PowerPoint presentations, and somebody would say, hey, I need you to make a PowerPoint presentation. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I was an adult. So I figured it out in like a day. Because it's like every other Microsoft software. I mean, it's, you know, there's basic. So this idea that we have to start when kids are really little and we have to get technology in them. There is a BBC documentary called Loving Machines, all watched over by machines of loving grace. Something like that. And it's 3 hours long, and you gotta watch it. That and the Edward Bernays documentary. BBC documentaries, they used to be free on YouTube. I don't think they took them down, but totally worth getting on Netflix or even buying. I mean, I'm serious. Like, you could have a watching party with your friends, like, who are politically oriented. Either side, left, right, doesn't matter. It's very fascinating because it's done by the BBC. It's not an American doing it, but it is documenting American culture and kind of talking about how we got to where we're at today. And I think anybody would enjoy it. It's totally nonpartisan. So yeah, you can have like a party night where you say, we're going to have fondue and popcorn and BBC movies. Yeah. And you can all, you know, dress in British clothes, whatever. Or you could eat jujubes, BBs, or you could bring BBs. See? Never mind. That's my sense of humor. Anyway, So yeah, so watch those documentaries, but I don't remember what I was saying because I got really off topic. So yeah, technology beginning in fourth grade is not necessary. My kids have an hour of computer time a week per child, and they almost invariably spend it on Webkins or Penguin, whatever. And we do look a couple of things up for school online because our library is deficient. It's deficient. It needs some book minerals. Anyway, so we look stuff up online occasionally together, but they're not allowed to be on. The Wii time pretty much counts as computer time. So they don't even play that very much, and they're not allowed to be on the iPads or the iPhones or anything like that. And I would like to get rid of all of that. I'd like to get it out of my house. Because you know what? Technology is dehumanizing. It is. It's dehumanizing. How do we know this? This is how I know this. Because 15 years ago, if I went to a restaurant at night, all the people there were looking at each other. And now, if I go to a restaurant, all the people there are looking at their phones. And that includes me, and I hate it. And how many times have I told my husband, I really don't want this stupid phone. I wish I could just go back to printing out maps before I went somewhere, having a day planner, and having this phone. And I'm seriously thinking of just getting rid of it. It's just not worth it to be disconnected because it's too easy to be on a device instead of picking up a book and reading it. Or that's funny. Okay, little side note. On this blog, somebody said something like, well, way to go for reading, believing everything you read on the internet, Yes. Point taken. Let's not inculcate our kids into that environment by giving them iPads, which our school district has done. And I hear a rumor that they're about to give that. They just gave them the middle schoolers. I heard a rumor that they're going to give them through the K through 6th graders, iPads. So we have Beatrix Potter. We have Ferdinand the Bull. We have, the little steam engine, little engine that could. We have Mike Mulligan and his steam shovel and all those wonderful books, The Little House. We've got Pat the Bunny. We've got wonderful literature in our world for young children, and we're going to give them electronic devices. We are insane. That is crazy. You know what? And when I'm at the store with my 4-year-old, I want him to be occupied and not, because he's a boy and he kind of wants to run around, and he loves music. So I give him my iPhone, and just on the music, And you know what? He wants to watch that cover. And so the whole time we're at the store, he'll stare at that phone, at the cover of this album. Okay, it's not a game. There's nothing even happening. Nothing's moving. There's no animation. It's just a picture and music playing. And he stares at that phone the whole time. Do you think if I had a vinyl album cover and he was hearing music, he would hold that vinyl album cover and just stare at it like that? I don't think so. He might. But there's something about devices that they capture us. I don't know if it's, I'm sure there's been some research done into this. Like, I'm sure it's behavioral psychology research. Okay, is it the shape of it? Is it the way it's, what is it about these devices that suck us in and disconnect us from the people around us? Okay, it's dehumanizing. Well, we're in that world. You're right, the world's changed. Okay, but do we have, they're going to live in that world. They're going to have computers at home. They're going to have computers at school. Nobody's saying don't have a computer class. Nobody would say that. That's just dumb. Of course we need to do that. But does that mean, is it like an either or? Does it mean, okay, we have to teach them about technology because the world's changing, so we can't have classical education? Well, no, we know that's not true. There's private schools and homeschoolers who do that all the time. They still have the grammar stage and the logic stage and the rhetorical stage, but they're not on devices all the time. And we can still teach them how to use the computer and how to type and use word processing and all that stuff, and even do programming. When I was in school, we had computer programming classes. It was 1 hour of the day, it wasn't like the whole day where we're just inculcating ourselves with devices. But this is where I'm going to get a little conspiratorial. I think that is a very measured move to dehumanize. I think it's a very measured move to create sort of little passive Prussian people who don't stand, like, okay, who, for instance, get on a blog and say, my name is anonymous, and here are my thoughts. It's like, that's so inhuman. You're hiding behind a nothing. It's like you're just a computer. No, do you have a face? Do you have a name? Do you have a family? Do you have a home where you live in? Sure you do. You're human, but you can get on a computer and feel like you're something else. You're just this name that's not even yours, which is really interesting. I mean, hey, I'm podcasting from my bedroom. That's my bedroom. It's very real. That's my grandma's quilt that she made, and it's falling apart, and I will never take it off my bed until it scraps because it's hers. There's that sign above my bed that says, it's a great quote, I can't remember who said it, what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. And that's really important to me because of some church issues that my husband and I went through that were really painful. Everything in this room means something to me, right? Because it's like my home, and I'm human, and I'm putting it on the internet because it's a part of me, and I'm not just anonymous, That's kind of a weird example because I probably would have, a green screen if I could, because you want to look at my bedroom. But you see my point is that we're becoming so disconnected that we can't even see logically that our kids shouldn't be on devices. You know what? And I'm going to say this. If your kids are on some sort of electronic device more than an hour a week, it's too much. We've lost the ability to just stop, and that's scary, and to just say, no. No, you can't get on the computer now. No, you can't have your little Nintendo DS right now. No. I was at a 4-H competition last year with my kids. It was a food show, and we had to travel out of town. And there were two groups. There was like the senior group and the junior group. And my kids were in the junior group. And we've been asked to do this, and my kids are really good at memorizing stuff. So they went through all these pages of information and memorized all this stuff. But the other two kids had done it before and whatever. So, and they are not very outgoing, friendly. So they answered all the questions. My kids really didn't get to answer any questions because the other kids knew all the questions. And then I watched one of the kids the entire time we were at this competition. Didn't speak to my children, didn't really speak to anyone. He was just on his whatever it was the whole time. iPad, iPhone, I don't know. The whole time. Mom was there. Mom didn't say, hey, honey, you should put that down and interact with the human beings around you. I don't know what's happened to us. And you know what? I mean, she's nice. I'm just talking about us as a society. Like, what's wrong with us as a society that we can't tell our children, no, you can't just stare at that screen. You can't do that, no. You have to be human now. You have to learn. If we're going to live in this world that's technological, we all have to learn how to have our limits and say, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, this is not appropriate at this time. I have a scheduled time for this, and it's right before bed for half an hour or whatever. And when I'm around other people, especially when I'm on their team, I should talk to them. But this is the world that we live in. We live in a world where, I'm totally guilty of this too. I'll text my husband from, like, if I go to the bathroom and he's at the table or whatever, if we're out, I'll text him. Yeah, it's kind of cute and funny and flirty. And it's neat, to kind of connect that way at times. But really, it's just not. It's just dehumanizing. So I've kind of gone off on a tangent about technology. Sorry. And always we want to acknowledge the irony that this is being done on my computer and it's going to be uploaded to YouTube and then put on Facebook, right? So again, but this is my carved out time for that. I spent the evening with friends playing games and not on a device, and my kids and I read books, and we have our connected time. This is a carved out time. So if we give little kids these devices, they don't know how to regulate themselves like that. Even adults don't know how. It's very difficult. So they're not self-regulating, and we should not do that. Should not. And in an age where we're firing teachers because we don't have enough money and we're handing out iPads, I'm just like, this is just dumb. And it is, and it's not, and I'm going to go back to my first point, is that it is not academically focused. And that is a huge problem. We have to get back to what is the point of school. I talked to one of our school board members and I was like, do we have a vision or a vision statement or a goal or some sort of specific something that we're headed for here? I know what my goal would be. My goal would be to have every single child that goes through that school system to get a good classical liberal arts education that starts in the grammar stage, goes to the logic stage, goes to the rhetoric stage, and I would have a certain amount of testing. I'm not anti-testing, okay? I think that we should test children. My children are tested to see what they've retained and what they know, but it's not like a punitive thing. It's like, okay, you need to work on this. I mean, I would want, I know I have a very specific set of things that I would want kids to go through by the time they're out of school. Every child. I would want them to all go through the same material. Now, this one may be better than this one, but they still get the same shot at it, right? And this one may only get to Algebra 2, and this one may get to Calculus 2. But there's a track. Everybody's on the same academic track. These kids over here, I'm not going to say, well, they're just stupid, so they're just going to be auto mechanics, so I don't care what they take, which is essentially what we do in a lot of our educational system. And I'll say, well, these kids are super smart, and so they're going to be on a totally different track, and they're going to go take these special classes. No, we don't need to do any of that. You know, when there was one-room schoolhouse, there were gifted kids, and there were 17-year-old kids, and there were not 2-year-old, 6-year-old kids who could barely read. And somehow those teachers knew how to get to each kid on each level because they were taught how to do that. And it's not, you know what, I mean, I kind of do it at home, and I have other friends who do it with a big age difference, and it's not that hard. It's really not. It's just that we don't want to. We don't. And I'm not talking about one-room schoolhouse. I'm talking about having an academic track that sets a very high standard and that every child can go through and work through to get to that standard. They may not all reach that standard, but the standard remains and it stays the same for everyone. For everyone. We don't get vocational kids doing this extra thing. No, I mean, don't even get me started on the vocational track thing. That, again, is a Prussian kind of Nazistic, crazy idea. And if you don't know the history of that, you need to look it up. And again, I have free resources on my blog for you. All right, I'm almost at half an hour, so I'm going to stop because why keep listening? I had a lot of goofiness tonight. Thanks for hanging in there with me. I had a lot of fun playing cards, so a little goofy. But anyway, okay, don't forget to check out my podcast. And remember, I read a couple books to you if you want to hear them. And don't forget that I have my blog that has a lot of stuff on it. And don't forget that this educational problem has gone on whether Republicans have been in office or Democrats have been in office. So if you're a Republican and you're thinking, well, I'll just, vote for Republicans because they'll fix everything, not true. And if you're a Democrat thinking, well, I don't know, whatever, I'll just vote for a Democrat because blah, 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 whatever. We are the people. We need to be researching and educating those in charge. So, not in charge, the ones that we elect to represent us. We need to educate them. Again, educate your teachers, educate your principals, educate your school board members, educate your superintendents, educate your local representatives, educate everyone you can, send them, share on Facebook, send links to whatever, anything, post quotes that you read that are intriguing. But everybody is in the fight, and we all need to be fighting for our kids because really that's who this is about. So, signing off tonight. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you soon. Bye.